Delay, I think it is. Peace and blessing, family. It's your man, Marifa, and welcome to Still Building Podcast. We are black for episode 7, and we're talking about childhood trauma, y'all. A very, very touchy topic for today, but we're going to get into that with a lot more on our panel starting right now. Yeah. It's your man Marifa Black yet again with another episode of Still Building Podcast. And we got us a great topic today, man. We're talking about childhood trauma, man, and how it affects adulthood and decision making of adults. Okay. And we got a great, amazing panel, man, that's coming up. We got some special guests on the panel, man. We about to bring them up right now. Let's get them in the building, y'all. Let's get them in the building, y'all. Can you believe it? Ladies and gentlemen, can you believe it? Let's get them in the building. We got the divine feminine, you know what I'm saying? The lovely Faith B is in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, you already know who it is. My man, Kent Jones in the building. And ladies and gentlemen, special honor to be joined by the man, the myth, the legend. B Will is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Yes,
Yeah.
we
Appreciate you,
finally
man.
get a chance to see B Will, baby.
That's
Man,
right.
boy, it's good to see you, bro. It's good to
Hey,
see you on the show,
it's,
man. Welcome to Still Building Podcast, man. You know what I'm saying?
hey, it's a
Right.
blessing, man. It's a
Yes,
blessing. Thank you
indeed.
guys for having me, for real.
Yes,
For real.
indeed, man. Look, man, I want to get into this topic, man. This is a great topic for us to discuss, man, because I don't know. I'm in my 50s. I just turned 50. You know what I'm saying? So I've just joined the 50-50 club. So I got a
Welcome.
lot, you know what I'm
Welcome.
saying? Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate y'all.
welcome.
Appreciate
Welcome.
y'all. Appreciate y'all, man. I just couldn't wait to get here. You know, it feels so good to be in the 50-50 club, man. I feel great. But at the same time, it comes with a lot of wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Because we done been through some things, you know what I'm saying, in our lifetimes that we can share with the next generation coming up. And if they're wise enough to listen to this wisdom, they will be able to gain a lot more. Their life won't be as so, traumatic as things that we went through. You know what I'm saying? Like they say, you know what I'm saying? We've been through that, so you don't have to go through it. You know what I'm saying? And childhood trauma is something that is very touchy. It's a touchy subject that people really don't get into. They kind of, it's a taboo thing. People don't like to talk about their shortcomings, their problems, and things of that nature. But we all are impacted by some type of trauma that we have dealt with or seen or gone through in our lifetime. But that ultimately will give, way to your decision making as an adult if you don't deal with it as you're going through it as a child. If no one's there
Yeah.
to help mentor you or guide you through it, help you understand, you're going to go through those problems and issues trying to figure out why you go through these certain things. And it's a cycle that you go through until you try to figure it out. And ultimately, it could impact your, lifestyle, your choices that you make as an adult, your relationships that you deal with, you know what I'm saying? How you deal in your relationships. So childhood trauma, is very, very important. People got PTSD, right? So the T in the PTSD, it stands for
It's
trauma.
trauma.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So you have
Right.
these traumatic episodes, and people who go through life, they get these triggers. You know what I'm saying? So certain things remind you of certain things. You know what I'm saying? So you get triggered by certain things. And if you have not dealt with those traumas and overcome them, then your triggers will impact you, and it could be either a negative thing or a positive. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, childhood trauma is something that we need to deal with in the black community to be able to get that thing under control individually as adults. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
Love, you talk about triggers, and a trigger can be anything. It can be the way someone stands. It could be a
Yep.
laugh. It could be a
A
smell.
song,
It could be a song.
smell.
It could be
Yep.
it could be the tone of someone's voice. It can be the way
Hmm.
someone reacts to another person. It can be the smallest. It can be the smallest of triggers, or it can be a humongous trigger, but just know that it can be anything. It does, it can be the way someone sits back and chills. It can be the way someone holds their pinky, the way when they drink a glass. It doesn't take much to trigger you. And so you said the T in PTSD is trauma. What you meant to say was the T in PTSD is trauma.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a real thing. It's a real
No,
thing.
you said it appropriately. You said it appropriately because when you take a term like PTSD, that's something that's a diagnosis, right? That you can find in the DSM-5. The DSM is a diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders, right? So PTSD has a certain requirement that just regular trauma doesn't. And the difference with PTSD, the traditional modern version of PTSD, it would be something like that. It requires an actual or threatened imposition on one's life, right? Where childhood trauma is really the same thing, right? Because if you were told, I'm gonna kill you if you don't do what I tell you to do, or threaten, I'm gonna take you to the edge of your life, right? It was still the same thing. And then the reason why I said like the modern use of PTSD is because there's an older use that actually predicated that, which was post-traumatic slavery disorder. And that's one that, anybody of color in the Western Hemisphere that is a product of colonialism definitely suffers from post-traumatic slavery disorder, some from post-traumatic poverty disorder, right? And then the lack of proper, how can I say, like psychosocial steps in our evolution, right? Because there are some good uses of trauma, and I can give some examples of that, right? When we have a proper society, right? And we could just think of it as a village. So let's go back in our hot tub time machines. And just think think of a time when, all the little children were raised around the campfire and the griot came out and pointed at the stars and they explained, the story of the stars as the Orisha or the Netaru or whatever, right? At some point in that society, a trauma had to be introduced because that's trauma or that an emotional or physical response had to be introduced to upgrade their understanding to the next level. So in some societies, we all grew up and watched Roots. Pull out your putu now, right? There was a trauma introduced. For some, it may be scarification. In other cultures, the Maori culture, it was tattoos, right? For some, men were told, hey, in order to be a man, you got to go out here and come back with a lion and don't come back without one, right? So there was an understanding amongst humanity that there is a way to take a trauma and to use that to elevate that person spiritually to the next level. And that's why, the importance of this conversation is drawing us back to that center that, shit happened in your life, right? Traumatic things happen. We have grown up. I'm a product of Los Angeles in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. So just like Boys in the Hood, you want to see a dead body? I was that kid, right? 12 years old, going to see a dead body, right?
Wow.
That's
there
like
were traumas.
Some stuff that you had to deal with, man, that is something that you had never anticipated going through. Like you live in a big city like Chicago. Me and B Will, we from Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So we came up with that same element. So we
thing,
got
right?
everything identified. You know what I'm saying? That big city thing where you dealing with those fast-paced problems of people. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, kid. My bad. I ain't mean
to. I'm sorry. Let me just come in under there because I did not grow up in the big city.
Dead bodies.
And you all have dropped my jaw. Now, how can I just ask as you're explaining you're explaining things, how old were you when you saw your first dead body?
Dead body 4.
Dang.
4. But that was under the perfect conditions, right? I'm a 4-year-old at a funeral, right?
Okay.
But again, correlating trauma, right? I think my first realization of death was my goldfish.
Right.
Okay.
Then, and I'm not, I'm not even trying to be funny, like realizing, okay, he's swimming upside down because he's dead. Flush him
Right.
down the toilet. At 4, I had an uncle who transitioned, right? So we're at his funeral. A year later, my father transitioned 10 days after my 5th birthday, right? So
Mm,
back at a funeral, right?
yeah.
Back at getting the talk from my uncles who were like, "Oh, don't be no punk, you better not cry." But I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you those traumas, and then some of the follow up from the adults that surrounded me in my childhood. They did what they thought was best. I don't fault anybody, starting with my mama, right?
Right.
They did what they thought was best. What they thought was best may not have been what was best, right? But at some point in my life, and kind of taking it back to what Sean said at the beginning, as you age, you kind of look back and you realize, okay, even though I was told certain things, I didn't necessarily move the way that I was being instructed
Yeah.
to go, right? So then bringing it up to that, now that I'm an adolescent, I'm 12 years old, right?
Yeah.
That's when I saw my first, dead body that wasn't because of a funeral, right?
Okay.
This is somebody laying in the bushes, right? Um, and the trauma was a little different because had survived drug raids, had survived drive-bys, had survived, being shot at, like that kind of stuff was part of my youth. Also, something that propelled me to go into the military because as
Yeah.
a young man at age 17, I felt like if I went from high school into college and it didn't matter where, what level of college, JC, whatever, part of me felt like I would fall into the same element that I was reared in, right? That I was growing up with now this second family that was not my biological kinfolk. This is my friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, and again, this is the societal thing that it happened naturally because that's part of human evolution, right? And human psychosocial behavior, we do fall into these groups where, between certain age brackets, mommy and daddy is God. Then
Yeah.
you start to distrust them a little bit more when you see some
Sure.
hypocrisies that they display for you,
Sure.
right? So then you start to build more of an understanding of who you are becoming. And then you gravitate and polarize towards people who think the same way you do that also happen to be within your age bracket that you probably go to school with or live down the street with or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Then we reach, young adulthood and we leave. And, I'm sure everyone on the call with me right now um, probably heard when you grown, you 18 and grown and out of my house, you can do what the hell you want to do. Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was always, that was my goal. When I'm 18, I'm going to get out of the house and I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right. But that's
I got
just,
kicked out at 17.
see, because you was already doing what you wanted to do. Right.
What?
You couldn't
Man, I
play
was
within the
already.
house rules.
Well,
Right.
Yeah.
you got kicked out at 17. What I found from my upbringing was that even at 18, I thought that I was an adult, but I wasn't necessarily treated like an adult. So I'm
Mm,
off and I'm in the military. I'm grown. I'm paying rent. I got a whole house and a baby on the way.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
And my mother, I can remember leaving Germany after meeting you great folks and going to Kansas and being en route in Kansas and my mother calling me and saying, "Where are you?" And I'm like,
Mm,
"What do you mean? Where am I? I'm
See, you
on.
know where you was at.
I'm grown. Like you don't have to call and check on me. I'm grown. I'm doing my own thing. I'm going to my next duty station." Now, there's a difference between what you think and what you say because of the role that
right.
mothers play. And so, but I remember her saying to me, "I expect to see you in 24 hours." Now, ask me where I was in 24 hours
At home.
at
Yeah.
home because
Yeah.
she made it clear. And so, it's crazy because I was gravitating towards people that were like-minded like me. I really thought that I was grown. I thought that I was living grown, and only to find out that I really wasn't grown. Now, I eventually got there. When did I I certifiably be grown? When I laid eyes on Morgan, as this the callers on this know that's my firstborn.
That's
I was
right.
like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really grown now. I'm somebody's whole mama.
That
And
reality hit you like a
yes,
ton of bricks, did it?
you wanna, it
Sit on
is,
the
and
whole
so I
mama.
have to make sure that I'm, doing what's right, and that caused me, Kit, to go back down memory lane and say, hey, I understand what my mother was trying to do. It wasn't always the right thing, but it's what she thought was best. Only for me to relive some of those very same traumas, with my daughter. And just because you guys are big city guys, don't think that trauma misses you in a small city where there's about
absolutely.
1,000 people or no more than 5,000 people. I grew up in the country, and trauma's tentacles said, hey, little girl, I got you too. So, if you want to live, you're going to have some type of trauma.
Yeah. You know, when they talk about that you're a product of your environment, that is true. Where you come from, what you experience, I'd say from toddler, because at 4 years old, kid, you experienced a death, and that caught you.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that is different that I've never seen before. Same thing with me. My grandfather died when I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I can literally remember standing on the casket looking over.
Yeah.
And just seeing him laying there like, okay, I really don't know what I'm looking at, but granddaddy ain't moving. So, okay, go run back through the funeral home and do what I do as a kid. And then you fast forward to being on 35th Street, being on 35th and King Drive, growing up in the midst of the GDs, P-Stones, going up and down 35th, having to walk to school and then having to deal with that whole dynamic. Then you kind of get pushed into that type of a lifestyle, because the reality is you don't want to get beat up. I mean, you don't want to suffer that trauma.
Right.
So you go along with the lifestyle that's every day. Even though you go home and have this, you still have to go outside. So, you deal with that. Yeah, I saw my first dead body. I was like 10 years old. I saw my best friend at 11 get beat down with a bat in the playground. And almost to death. As a matter of fact, I think the blood stains might still be in that park, in that little spot. So yeah, we deal with things, and I don't think that it's a big city or a country. I don't think it's predicated on where you are. I just think it's predicated on your experience. And while we're talking about childhood trauma, just to kind of reel it into what we're talking about, I think the one thing that it's good and it's kind of unfortunate. It's good that eventually we get a diagnosis called PTSD. Eventually we get to a place of wisdom that we can see a therapist, and it's not taboo. Unfortunately, we were not taught these things as youth. In our communities, we didn't know anything about going to a therapist, because therapist was a bad word. We're going to handle this in our house, or, and I'm a Christian, so I can say it, or we're going to pray about it and we're going to let God do what he does, and this, and, so that's what you know. However, when you get older, again, age does not predicate wisdom. Experience predicates wisdom.
You better say that again.
So a lot of people think because they're, this person is older that they understand. If you haven't realized and acknowledged and accepted, those past traumas, you stay stuck in those same things. So you repeat the cycle. You repeat that whole cycle. So again, going back to childhood, I think a lot of the things that we experience and a lot of other people experience as youth, because they're not dealt with, that's why you see what you see today. Why you see the communities. We can blame anybody else we want to. I mean, and that's just me personally. But again, it starts with the home.
Right.
And because we haven't been open enough to say, hey, we can have somebody else, we can trust somebody else to handle this because we don't know what to do. Instead of going the same routine. So, and I'm gonna just give it, I'm gonna let pass it on. But I remember going through a trauma during Desert Storm, right? There were 2 songs after Desert Storm I could never listen to after that. One was Proud to Be an American, but I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
That song and Eternal Flame by the Bangles. Is this an eternal flame?
Oh yeah.
Because they played it every day, all day. So that became ingrained in me. So when I left Germany and I came home and I heard that song, I heard Eternal Flame and I broke down.
Yeah.
Because it was I didn't even understand that song had it was at the forefront of a pain that I didn't even recognize. Proud to be an American. Yeah, I served in the military, but I hear that song and it's like I couldn't hold it together. And I didn't understand at that time. Again, 94 and stuff, PTSD wasn't as big. You know, we weren't getting diagnosed and things of that nature as much. It was relatively new after we came out of that 95 further era. Then we started getting more and more diagnoses. But when I'm looking at trauma, now I'm going back to songs in my youth that caught me. That as I got older, you know what I'm saying, that triggered me. Certain songs triggered me either to be angry or they triggered me to fall in love. It was still a trigger. You know what I'm saying? But again, we didn't get as youth, and I think as a community that is so unfair, that kids, even with the resources now, that kids are not being prompted to go seek help. Because if they don't seek help, they're going to lash out.
And a lot of it has to do with, I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
A lot of it has to do with the way is viewed, you know, the acceptance by society. Like you said, if you go seek therapy, some people will call you weak-minded, or they will label you like, oh, you know, you're going to see a therapist, you must be crazy or something. No, that's not
going
what
to see a shrink.
Yeah,
he's a basket case. You got to go see a shrink, right?
Something wrong with you. You can't deal with it. No,
right.
Actually, you're stronger if you're willing to admit that you need help. You know what I'm saying? You're willing to reach out and say, I need the help, you know, because I really don't got it all together. You're admitting that you're weak in certain areas, that you need to be stronger. You need better tools in order to help you get to where you want to be, you know, either spiritually, mentally, or emotionally. You know what I'm saying? So those traumas that people do not deal with, they put on this front, this fake face. They call it a mask. You know what I'm saying? And they walk around wearing a mask all day, trying to pretend to be something that they're not. Like they got it all together, got it all figured out. And Facebook and social media and TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff does not give any credence to all of that stuff. It kind of fuels the fire, adds gas to it, because people lying all day long. On the internet, on social media, they putting they best foot forward on the internet, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff like that. But in reality, their life is a mess. You know what I'm saying? And they dealing with things that they can't overcome because they never, you know, really face the facts that, hey, I've dealt with this in the past. I had these traumatic episodes occur to me in a relationship that dealt with an uncle that touched on me, you know what I'm saying? Or something happened to me in the past where I got beat up by some people, or there was drug abuse in my home, or I used to get abused by my mother all the time. Whatever happened to you, you know what I'm saying? You never dealt with it, but you want to pretend and fake like everything is okay. And nobody's willing to admit.
The one thing that is, I use the analogy of a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
The longer you keep a Band-Aid on, the harder it is to take it off.
That's right. Yeah.
Because it pulls at your hairs, and now it's hard. Now you got to take it real slow. The same thing with wearing that mask of your yesterday. The longer you keep on that mask, the harder it is for you to open up about what's under that mask, which again goes to, we have got to start getting these traumas and getting these situations early, because the longer that they hold them,
Yes.
the more susceptible they become to repeating the cycle of trauma and passing on the cycle of trauma.
So let's stay with your Band-Aid analogy. It's a Band-Aid on a wound. And unless you address that wound, you can think that it's healed, but at the right time, that thing is going to open up. You're going to bleed on some people, and some other people won't be able to smell it. Okay.
Right.
And so having we've all experienced trauma. Having experienced a childhood trauma, it's just like you said, I wore a mask. Everything looked fine on the inside, but that trauma
on the outside.
On the outside. That trauma festered, and I had to treat that wound when I was somewhere between 30 and 35. But it impacted the way that I made decisions about my children, about who I would enter into relationship with, who I would give the time of day. Like that trauma.
Who can you trust?
It made me distrustful. I couldn't trust anyone, even, and we all know Mike Burgess. I'm gonna get him. You know what? I'm gonna invite him.
Big Mike.
I'm gonna invite him. He has a lot to say.
Okay, let's go.
16 years, and he would do it. 16 years. Let me just say that I know that I honestly love Michael Burgess more and appreciate him more now that the trauma is dealt with than I did when we were married. And so Michael and I have gone through this whole thing where we're now at a point where we can actually sit and have a conversation with each other instead of at each other. But even in my relationship with him, that trauma governed how I treated him. I was married to this man for 16 years, but I don't think that there was ever a time in the 16 years that I trusted him. Can you imagine being with someone, having children with someone, building a future with someone that you're with, that you love, but you don't trust?
You don't trust. Yeah.
That's very difficult. You know what I'm saying?
It's a very difficult
thing.
You know what though? You say it's difficult, but I'm gonna say it's typical as well.
Yeah.
And the reason is because, I mean, how many of us? I mean, we started this conversation off kind of on the note of, you know, like knowing yourself. The older you get, the more you realize that the experiences in life that you've gone through should add to, because B said it as well. You know, there's a lot of old fools out here. So, you know, there's no such thing as just because this person is this age, they're all wise and intelligent. But, you know, a person's experience and then how they deal with those experiences kind of what makes or break them, you know. And Faith, what you're saying is unfortunately a reality that everyone can identify with, because there's just certain social breaks and points, you know, just like when you had kids, you know, that we're all parents will say, yeah, well, I didn't get no guide on, you know, how to raise kids. You got a blocks of instruction, you know, you may have subscribed to a certain belief system or gone to school and learned, you know, early childhood development or whatever, right? But there's still nothing like having been tossed in the fire of, oh my goodness, I got this little human in my hands, right?
Yeah, or you're mimicking what your parents have done.
Right. Or, and that's usually what happens, right? You mimic the parenting that you were parented by.
Or you see someone parenting and you say, I want to do that.
I want to be a mother like this, right? I want to be a daddy like this. Yes. And so it still goes back to like a person knowing themselves, being open enough to always learn how to do something a little differently to make it better. Because ultimately, when we're talking about the next generation, every generation, a generation before us, the people that parented us are our mama's, you know, best friend that we call Auntie Jean or whatever, right? All of those people had your your betterment in mind, right? They all gave you instructions to do better than me. They all gave you instructions to go out there and be the best you that you can be, right? And that's the same thing that we employ upon the next generation too. Hey, listen, be the best you that you can be. And a lot of times it just starts with like taking that break and reevaluating yourself, right? There was a time when I first got into the military, I would lay there and then just think about my whole day, what I said to people, how I interacted with people. And, I went to sleep damn near every night with a smile on my face because I made somebody laugh. I turned a bad situation into an okay situation, right? There's nothing perfect, but I just did something to make it better.
Now? What do you do? Like, so what do you do now?
Same thing. Comedy. Huh?
Do you still call your dad? You still
still reflection. Yeah, every day.
Reflect every day.
Right. Every day. Reflecting on what did I do, because when I was a little children, now I lay me down to sleep, right? Mm-hmm. If I don't wake up, I want to go out in the spirit of my yacht, right? I want to go out knowing that I didn't defraud somebody today. I didn't, do a whole list of things that I feel like these are things that are going to hold me back in my spiritual progression, right?
Yeah.
And
so how has your childhood trauma, your personal childhood trauma, governed your decisions, governed the way that you interact with people today?
Well, here's one that we all share in common, right? Most people's trauma, the first trauma started as mama trauma, right? Mm-hmm. Mama trauma, right? And so I grew up in a Christian household and learned about forgiveness. And my mama beat my ass just like the next kid, right? I could tell you my fifth grade year was the last year I got ass beatings. Right. I might get popped here and there. I get backhanded. All that was, her thinking she was doing what was right, right? And as an adult, we have talked about it. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't really cool when you smacked me in front of your mama and her mama. Right? Like, that wasn't cool. Only to feel the shame of she was actually wrong,
Yeah.
She smacked me one time in front of the whole family, and my grandmother was like, that wasn't him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't do that. And then it was the swallow crow, and that was a check for her though. Let me stop showing my goon hand in front of company thinking I'm bad or whatever, ego trip she was on, right? And then also learning how to read her, right? Knowing, oh, this ain't the right time to go tell her that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it was like knowing that. But as an adult, I definitely said there were certain things with my own children. I wasn't going to raise them a certain way, right? I was going to take time to understand before I just laid a goon hand down, right? Understand what were you trying to do, right? And have conversations. And when my children were really little, we talked like they were adults because they understood. I never taught baby talk with them and, oh, you want binky and all that. No, it was, what are you saying? Use your words, right?
This kid, I believe, would take the time and talk to his kids. First of all, I don't even know why I'm surprised. I'm surprised you have children. But understand that Faith knows you from, I think you were a teenager when I met you still. You might have been 20. You may have been.
No, I was the teenager. I was the baby.
Yeah, he was the baby.
I was the baby.
I was going to say, you weren't that far into your 20s. This I know. So I met you. I met a very young Kit Jones. Very, very radical Kit Jones. I said to myself, this man's children going grow up. They're going to change the world.
It's standing on the rock.
It's coming out here. The new Black Panthers.
Right. The new Black Panthers.
Standing on the rock.
There's nothing wrong with that. I was on standby with eyes this big. But it really warms my heart that the Kit Jones that I'm talking to doesn't talk baby talk to his kids and sits down and says, hey dude, hey my man, like,
what's going on?
This is like, this is what it is. This is what it is. I love that.
So can
I'm just real quick. I learned that from some of y'all though. Honestly, like, mind you, and then B, I'm gonna shut up and let you go. But I learned how to change a diaper from my sisters, right? I learned how to give a baby a bottle and how to feed a baby from my sisters, right?
Yeah.
So me as a father showing a feminine aspect of me, I learned through women, right? So, at some point you have to be an observer, right?
Mhm.
You have to learn. And then us as men have to have that kind of, I'm gonna take a back seat to the woman because I don't know how to hold this baby for the first time, head bobbling all around and shit, no. Like I was shown that by my sisters, and thanks some of y'all for, trusting me to hold your baby, right? Or, tell her to shut up or whatever, I'm the baby whisperer. I'm whispering in the ear. The mama like, damn, what did you say? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So go ahead, B. Go ahead, B.
No, and that's good. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that, when I got kids, it's like, whoa, it's been that long. No, but
Yeah.
so
I
let me
waited
ask.
late too.
Hey, I was already in. Anyway, we don't talk about that.
But
But
wait a minute, B, wait a minute, B. Sometimes waiting is the better option.
absolutely.
Sometimes waiting is the better option for
Yeah.
me, and I'm gonna let you go, B. For me, I think having them early on was according to Love anyway. Like Faith was always having babies, but I think
Right.
early on was the thing for me because now that we are all adults, the way
Yeah.
I can sit and have conversations with them and
Yeah.
always and checking in, because for me it was very important that the trauma that I experienced wasn't their trauma. And my kids had to
Yeah.
pull my card on that. They were like, okay, mom, like sometimes you overdoing it. What you went through, that's not everybody's story. And so
Yeah.
the
Right.
first time I reacted like my mother, who y'all talking to? And then I was like, okay, that's the nail on the head. They hit it right. My trauma that's not everybody's story. So I can't always go into over protective mode.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Right.
gotta sit and listen to the facts.
So, and so I want to pose a question in our community and in our experiences. Do you think that we've been given instruction, or have we been given blueprints?
Blueprint.
I think we had
Yep.
blueprints in the
Blueprint.
70s.
Yeah, we had the
We had it
blueprint.
at one point in time. We had blueprints in the 70s, and growing up in that era, we had an unspoken code. I don't know if y'all remember, growing up in the era, if you lived in a house, you can sleep with the doors open, the windows up. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Nobody would mess with your house. You if you got into any trouble outside of anything, your next door neighbor's mother would get on you,
Yeah.
probably give you a whooping or something like that, and then tell your mama when you get home, and then she'll whoop you, and then when your daddy got off work, he'll whoop you. So it was an unspoken code where everybody understood that we're raising this village. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To keep everything under control,
Sean,
and we
Sean,
had
I'm
the
not cutting
blueprint.
you off, and I don't know if you all can see this, but I have a gash. I have a gash right here.
Now that's trauma right there.
No, it is trouble, but I got a gash right here over my eye. Apparently, I was 2 years old. Don't remember it, but my family gets together, tells this story. This boy was swinging this golf club in the neighborhood. He maybe was about 9, swinging the golf club. Repeatedly told me to watch out, but they told him
Right.
stop swinging the golf club because she's little, she's around. He swings the golf club, bow, makes contact, drops the golf club, runs home to hide. Blood gushing everywhere. They take me to my mother. She patches up this unspoken code. Also, what happens in the house stays in the house, but we're gonna touch on that in a minute. But she patches up the wound, goes over to the house. His mom didn't beat the brakes off of him. His dad didn't beat the brakes off of him. My mom knocks on the door, and his mom says to him, "Come on, come get your medicine." Because you hit her daughter, so now she here to distribute what you're supposed to get. So it is that village mentality. When he ran home, his mother said, "Why you in the house in the middle of the day? You that's outside of the door."
Yeah.
And then when he hid, he was like, "Well, why are you hiding?" That means you did something. But his
Yeah.
mom beat him, his dad beat him, and then my mother came and knocked on the door, and she beat the brakes off of him too. I don't
Yeah.
think it was Tiger Woods, because I don't remember him, but he
Yeah, this
don't touch
kid
him
don't
with
want
golf
to.
clubs.
Yeah, this nigga don't want to golf. He
Yeah.
afraid of
Yeah.
golf, right?
Not
Yeah,
Now he
that.
yeah.
got a trauma.
He
That's
The
got a
his
the
trauma.
trauma.
blueprint. The blueprint was there. The
Yeah,
The
blueprint
blueprint,
was
the
there
yeah,
in
blueprint.
our community. You know,
yeah, we
we
got the
we followed
blueprint.
the unspoken code. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? To look after each other, to discipline each other, to
Yeah,
hold each other accountable. You
yeah,
know, there was a blueprint in place that we lost. We lost that blueprint, I believe, due to integration. You know, us going into the school system, being integrated with other races. You know, not to say that there's nothing wrong with integrating and stuff like that, but at the same time, we forgot ourselves and we started comparing ourselves with others, and we forgot ourselves and saying, "Oh, I like that over there better, so I'm gonna put this aside and try to emulate that." In which I'm dealing with in order to assimilate into this culture or this environment that I'm in. That caused us to start questioning our code, our blueprint that we
yeah,
had as a community. And
yeah,
then we were saying to ourselves, well, Becky and them over here not getting whooped for the same things that I'm getting whooped for over here. Why is that? And then we started to push back to mama and say, hey, mama, Becky didn't get whooped for that. Why do I need to get whooped for that? That type of thing. So we were comparing our cultures
yeah,
with the integration, which allowed us to lose our blueprint because the next generation, what we did, Gen X, we made a mistake. We said, I'm not going to do that to my kids when I get old.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because we were integrated. We saw Becky and Lil Johnny, doing their thing over there, getting away with murder. And we were like, well, why can't we? you
but
know,
but, lit-
so
Right.
we gave our
love,
kids.
getting away with murder,
Yeah, yeah,
murdering other people. And I think that when we decided that we were going to adapt to their cultures, we didn't realize everything that was in the bag, because we come
Yeah,
from
right,
generations that don't talk back. We come
We
from
saw the
yeah,
generations
surface.
that would never go into a school with a
right.
gun and shoot up kids.
right.
That's not where we come from. That's not our
No,
culture. That's not our background. But once
Right.
we started taking on other cultures, another trauma.
right.
My It ain't my trauma. This is Miles' trauma. Miles in school acting up. Michael went to the school, pulled him out of the class. A black teacher, I won't say what school system, a black teacher stood watch while Michael beat the brakes off of Miles. They
Yeah,
told me the boy needed Ritalin. They told me he needed all this kind of stuff to kind of like he was hyper. He needed all
Yeah.
this stuff. Come to find out, he didn't need any of that. He just
right.
needed
No,
Michael Burgess to show up at the school.
yeah, he just needed daddy time. That
He
was
just needed
all.
daddy time. A
Yeah,
black
my
teacher,
mama, my mama did me the same way.
a black
And
teacher looked out. A
yeah,
year, maybe 2 years later, Miles thought that he would act up again. A white teacher said, "Oh, Mr. Burgess, you can't do that." And
right.
Michael said, "Do you want him to steal your pocketbook and your money, or do you want him to break into your house and tie you and your husband up in the Brooklyn basement?" The
Right. Which
teacher
one?
then turned her back. And I'm telling you, this was maybe like fourth or fifth grade. From then on, I never had any more trouble with my son
I
up
told you,
until today.
fifth grade.
He
Fifth
don't.
grade. I got my ass beat almost every day in the fifth grade. There's something about that age with little black boys at age 10
Yeah,
through 12. If you could get them though. And that's the thing is like recognizing, see, that's what I'm saying. Like we know now because we've experienced it. The
Hmm.
right.
wisdom is on, the young men and women that we work with, that we mentor and all of that, and I look at them and I go, oh, don't beat her. Don't beat her. Just talk to her first, right? Talk to her. And I'm saying talk to her just so you could do this pause, right? Remember, you used to be her age.
Yeah.
What were you thinking in this scenario when you were her age, right? When
Right.
you do that, you realize, well, shit, I thought I knew everything back then too, but I didn't.
Right.
Right.
And then you can help them realize, okay, yeah, I fucked up, right? I
Yeah.
did XYZ wrong, right? And I'm not saying I'm pro nor anti-corporal punishment. Do as you do, don't kill them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Realize that you don't,
There's a
Just don't
you
difference.
kill
don't,
them.
There's a
Don't
yeah,
difference
you
kill 'em.
don't,
between
you don't own
correction
them.
and abuse. There's a
There's
difference.
a difference between punishment and discipline. Our
Absolutely.
role as parents is I'm trying to correct a deviant behavior, right? So yes, I will put hands on you if you putting hands on somebody. I will put hands on you if it means this is what's gonna stop you from running in the street and killing your damn self, right?
Right.
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 But everything else we should be able to talk about.
Yeah.
That's just me as who I am. Plus,
Yeah.
you know, nigga, I got a 72-hour hold. You know, I got one count of disturbing the peace for beating a little black kid. And, you know, they went to school and, oh, did your daddy hit you? And yeah, 72 hours later, you know, nigga walking home from Beauchette, the Twin Towers downtown LA. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with
no, you can laugh at me,
because
but
your girl got
Okay.
something on her record too.
okay, so
Every
that's all I'm
time-
saying.
Every time I go for a new job, I got to fight this thing. Someone said,
Yeah.
"Hey, you can get it expunged," but you know what, Kit? I leave it because to remind me
The reminder.
that
The
I could
reminder.
snap like that, and so
Yes.
I let it
yes.
escalate. I let it escalate.
Right.
I tried to talk,
Right.
but she didn't want to talk. She
Right.
didn't want to talk. And then I can
Yeah.
honestly say, when it was all done and I was hogtied in the police car, I really was ashamed because I was like, man, I let myself come all the way out of character.
All the way down to
And then
this.
who's gonna
Yep.
take care of my kids?
Yep.
They at home crying. And then I got to walk home from
Police station.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Thing, where are my kids? You know, they
Yeah.
DCFS came and got the kids, you know, like I'm definitely no saint. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I you know, we do a whole nother show about shit I done did wrong in this life, right?
One
Right?
show I got, man. Listen, we could do a series for me. Fam. Do a whole BMF
TV
series. Right.
Listen,
I'm telling you. Look, man, my
Oh.
mom
But-
used to
I tell
whoop us
myself
in
that it was for the
licks.
protection of
Yeah.
my children to make it, you know, make
Yeah.
it a little bit easier. But listen, based off of a trauma, you know,
Yes.
somebody
Yeah,
coming for the
man.
kids, and I feel like I gotta protect them, and I do have
Protect
to protect
them, yeah.
But you
But you know-
also got to stay in your lane. Like you can't. This at the end of the day, this was someone else's child that I brought harm to. Got to
Mm.
remember that, man. And I don't want that. You know, and she probably was out there because of the cycles and the trauma that she had been through. You
Yeah.
know, and it just
Yeah.
So
man,
it's trauma versus trauma.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
But with trauma also comes, and with the wisdom and experience of trauma also comes, you have to understand, even from childhood to now, you have to understand that you have to have humility.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You have to have humility.
Yeah.
You have to look at yourself and see that I did something wrong.
Yeah.
I accept it, I admit it, and
Yeah.
because I have this in front of me, I don't want to see this me again.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
you're talking to children and you're talking to other youth or other people, you can remember that humility. I was there. So when I see people blowing back, when I see people, you know, doing different stuff that I did while I was trying to be in the streets and do all this, I have to pull back. Remember, whoa, dude. Hey, you
Yeah.
remember when?
Yeah.
Right.
You remember?
Yeah.
You ain't always
forget.
been this cat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't
So
forget where
I
you came from. That's where you stay humble.
yeah,
That's right.
you have to stay humble, and you have to always remember you were that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? With our children, just like you all have said, I look at my children. I only beat my kid once. I think, and that was my third child, my third girl.
You got kids?
Man, I got
This guy
I got-
tried.
I
That's
got-
why he went in the
listen,
army, man. He was running for them
Wait,
kids.
listen,
Face shock. She like, you got some kids? You like,
girl, I got 4 grown kids and 3 grandkids.
Really?
Listen,
Wow.
Listen.
Wow. Wow.
I'm-
How many kids do you have?
I
me?
got 2.
Okay.
I got
Sean, I know you got 2, love. B,
Yeah.
you got 4?
I have 4, 36, 33, 25, and 18.
Yeah. That's what's up.
Wow.
That was up.
You still got a teenager.
My son, he's 18, graduating this year.
And
Yeah,
Kent, you
that
have
was
how
it.
many children?
2 biological, and then extended family. So I have 26, 25, I'm sorry, 27, 26, 18, 16, and 15. The 16 and 15-year-old are the youngest two. Those are my biological.
Okay.
Man, y'all did that. Brian, and I know that you thought that you were going to get away on this podcast and not be able to talk about it, but you've just had some really great news. What I want to know from you, sir, is how the trauma from your past relationships caused you to make the decisions that you did, and how you encountered this beautiful new woman in your life. How did you jump in on that pot of gold?
Let me tell you.
Yeah, how does it impact you?
Podcast to stick this in.
Let me tell you. So let me tell you, and I'm gonna be brief with it. So I was married before for 12 years, right?
Okay.
Right.
So my two youngest kids, my youngest daughter and my son, were products of that. And even in that, I didn't understand what marriage was. I was doing it because of my age. All of my boys were married.
Yeah.
So I did it because of an agenda. As a matter of fact, God had told me 3 times before I got married, don't get married.
Tell it.
And I did it anyway.
Yes.
I did it anyway because that's what I wanted to do. I'm gonna show people I'm a husband. I'm this. So you fast forward. That ended in 2011. You fast forward to 2022 when I meet this woman. So I'm still at 54. I'm still dealing with being in church all my life. You know, God and this, all of that. But I'm still more me than I am him. I'm still more Brian. I still don't get it. So what ended up happening when I met her July of last year, and it was immediate. When I tell you from the first conversation, I knew this was it.
Yeah.
It was like there was no everything in me said this is the one. It was like God saying, this is the daughter that I had waiting for you. I was trying to wait for you to get it right, but since you evidently ain't gonna get it right, I'm gonna help you a little bit. Here you go.
Right.
It
was so natural. It must have been just all natural. It wasn't no.
It was man. When I tell you, it was hard. It was a flow. It was a straight flow. It was crazy for me. And then I've never been able to sit and talk to women, just have that conversation. Some conversations like finances and real just talks. I just was uncomfortable. I would get frustrated.
Right.
With her. We were able, and we still are, just to sit and have hour-long conversations about everything. Yeah. When I tell you, I revealed my entire past, chicks, dip-offs, financial situations, other stuff that I had done and been through. I was able to be open with her.
Yeah.
And then it just worked.
She was able to reciprocate all of that, and then be understanding of what you've gone through and how you dealt with it.
And not being judged.
She was sympathetic of it.
Yeah. And it just worked. So I met in July. I got engaged in December. I was like, look, there's no reason for me to. What am I waiting for?
Come on now.
When you know, you know. That's why people say all the time. You're like, well, how you get married? I got married at 19 or 20. So how you get married so young? It's like when you know, you know. You know
when a man knows, when a man knows, he knows.
Yeah, it don't take long.
That was it. So we got engaged in December. Let's prepare for this marriage. We were supposed to get married in September of this year.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? No. Let's do this now. Let's create this real thing now. So we got married March 29th.
Yeah.
You know, we had a celebration in September sometime, but I wanted to lock her in as Mrs. Williams as soon as possible.
Congratulations, bro. Congratulations on that, man.
Yeah, big up.
Love, black love, you know what I'm saying?
And listen, let me tell you the greatest thing about this is we have been blessed so much since we got together. When I tell you things have been working together, opportunities have been coming. When I tell you debt has been falling off, that I'm like, money's been coming from places that I didn't even know I had.
Yeah, you
Right.
got that
You know,
you got that energy, man, with you that balance you out. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? That support.
Yeah.
You know, the
She
real.
is she is that virtuous woman that I had been waiting on, but I didn't
Right
know it.
on. Yeah.
Welcome to
Right.
the family. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family.
See, you know
Welcome
what,
to the
B?
family.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm like you. You know, when I got married, I knew it was wrong.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just
I
joking.
got out of that unnecessary the unnecessary legal bind with my children's mother. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm been happily divorced for 10 years now. But I remember, you know, handing out invitations to my wedding and saying, "Hey, here's an invitation to my funeral." Right? And people, funeral.
He said funeral.
So yeah, you know, you seen the last.
That's
You
the
know, I had
kid
to
I know.
pass over. I had to pass over the cane and the goblet and everything. You know, I can't have this no more. I ain't professional bachelor no more. You know, I used to be
Okay.
Colt Severs. I was the fall guy. You know, I'm not the
Yeah.
one to kiss and tell. I'm just a stunt man, baby. You just call me. I do a flip. You know, do my little stuff, little action, boom, boom. The place blow up, and I'm on to the next set. Right. So trust me, once I was like Brian in the sense that I knew this ain't right, but it's right. You know what I'm saying? It's not right because I don't necessarily feel comfortable with this situation because there's a part of me that knows I have to do this for experience. I'm doing this because there's a couple more ancestors that need to come back on this side that I'm kind of in a cosmic agreement with this person just for children's sake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once the children get here, I can have a relationship with them. I don't need to talk to her no more, right? So,
Shoot.
you know, we wait until they're 18, and then, you know, I could delete phone number from phone book, and oh no, I don't know about your mama, you know, that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I was attracted to settle down and conform myself again to, you know what, I just need to be mated with somebody for the rest of my life, you know.
And so
This is how it's supposed to
this is
be.
a
So it was a
result.
conscious decision.
This is a result of previous relationship traumas, or were you at a point where you're just like, okay,
That
if
was
it
the only
happens, it
traumatic
happens.
relationship I had. I had never like on some real shit, domestic abuse, you know. I never thought, damn, you know, she threw an ashtray at me or, you know, whatever, right? Like,
Ashtray.
oh
One of
yeah,
them
oh
old
yeah.
school
It
joints.
started with that. You know,
Oh, they
y'all
don't
ain't
even make
seen
them no
these in a
more.
while. Yeah,
The
they do.
livestock.
It's still
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
ashtray.
That's the last
Y'all
one.
remember this one? Shaped like a little bird nest.
Oh, man.
The
Brian,
last
Oh,
Brian said
ashtray
that's
in
the last
America.
one.
That's the last one. You'll
Yeah,
never see
because she
another
broke
one.
the one she threw at me. She broke that one,
Oh,
right? I
oh,
got his little brother over here,
I
right?
love it, man. I love it.
But
But
yeah,
that
you know,
with that though, that
mhm.
cycle is that cycle of you don't know how to escape
Yeah,
from you. You
yeah.
don't know how to escape from yourself. But the song says you can't hide from yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Right.
But you don't, when you don't know how to escape from you and your own theologies, your own ideologies, your own insecurities, when you don't know how to do that, that's all. When I got married the first time, I knew I shouldn't have got married. Even before I
Yeah.
was told I shouldn't get married, I shouldn't have done it. But I
Right.
did it because of what Brian wanted to do. I should have
Yeah,
never
that's was
proposed.
it.
And listen, I told my
Yep.
ex-wife this. I'm sorry because I came to you and proposed to you.
Mm.
I should have never done that. We should have stayed friends, and we wouldn't have gone through the 11 years of presenting a face of family when the four walls were broken.
Yeah.
That was on me as a man that I should have
Yep.
never
I should have
presented that.
known. Yep.
So I
Shouldn't
had
have
to.
done that.
I had to own that in order to get that weight off of me. So
Yeah.
once I did that, I was good. Okay, what we doing next? But I still didn't know how to get to that next.
yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Until last year at 54. At 54 years old, I finally got it.
Yeah.
Hey,
See, man,
but you got it. That childhood trauma said childhood trauma also caused me to enter into a marriage with Michael. Not once. That's right, but twice.
Go for
I got
it.
married twice.
I married Brian. Don't do that.
She said not once, but twice.
Twice. I married Michael Burgess twice,
Yeah.
and I did it because the trauma of
Hold on, I'm going on public record.
on public record. 2 times I married Michael Burgess, and I
You
did
might
it
as well go
because
for
my
a third
judge.
one, girl.
The
The third time's a charm.
That's what they say.
I hear the third time is a charm. And here's the crazy thing. Well, it's not even crazy. Here's the thing. I'm open to love and open to marriage. And I know that he's out there and that he will accept me. But I know from your experience and B Will's experience, you hold on, love, because you're gonna factor in here. I know from you two, from the experience that both of you all just shared, that they're out there. And then once I connect, I will be able to be my 100% authentic self.
Yeah.
Where love comes in is he has taught me that you can weather things, weather storms in a marriage. And if I want to get to those double digits, if I want to get to those high double digits like he has, I have to do just that. I can't quit. I have to weather the storm. I can break the cycle. I can show my children and my grandchildren what love looks like, what Black love looks like, what Black love in excellent and in action looks like.
Listen, love is a business, and it's all about how much you're willing to invest.
Yeah.
And I say this: if you talking about getting married, and all the people that now they want to get married, I say if you're going to get married, think about this: are you willing to take a bullet for that person?
Right. Are you willing to die for him?
Are you willing to die? Are you literally, not figuratively, are you willing to die for that person? Would you step in front of a bullet to save that person?
Yeah.
Well, Brian, I'm single and not dating, so I'm not.
She ain't taking no bullets.
I'm not stepping in front for nobody.
She ain't taking no bullets.
But now, let me just say this. Let me say this at the risk of inviting Michael Burgess to this next podcast. Would he do that for me? Hell yeah.
Probably so. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
But
Exactly.
but I will say this: after being married, and so the first time out of the gate, I married Michael because I was pregnant with Morgan. Michael knew that, and I knew that, and the military helped to feed and fan that fire because we were not in the same place.
You didn't have time. You had to make that decision quick.
Away. And so I literally flew home on a Thursday. He got the marriage license on a Friday, proposed to me on a Saturday. We got married Sunday after church, and we lived separately for about 2 years. And that was probably the better years of the marriage. When we got together, I don't know. I already told you all that I couldn't trust him.
Right.
But it wasn't because of anything that he did.
No, it was you. Yeah, for sure.
I was in Kansas, and then I moved to Fort Dix, New Jersey. He was in Fort Dix. He went to Saudi Arabia. While he was in Saudi Arabia, I came to Germany. Then he went back to New Jersey, eventually came to Germany, and that's when I met you all. And regardless of how many parties Michael and I threw, because y'all were always at my house, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Always.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where we had food at. Can we eat? Get a plate.
Always.
Man.
Can we get a plate?
We did. We had food.
We was in the barracks, broken, starving.
Right.
We wanted a home cooked meal.
That was one of the fake masks that Michael and I had on. And I need Jack on this podcast because Jack was another one stayed at my house, even though we lived in housing. But we would cook and we would do these dinners, we could do these barbecues. This is why I need Cook on here as well, because I was just going through some pictures and we were having a birthday party and Cook's son was in my living room and I stepped in the middle of his plaything and he said, "Hey lady, you stepped in my fire." And I took a picture of him when he said that. And when I see these pictures, every once in a while they'll pop up of you, Sean, with your head turned to the side. Brian, you sitting at the table with Nick. Like I got pictures of you too, believe it or not. You all were always at my house, but Michael and I mastered the art of putting on the mask.
Yeah.
We looked
Pretending.
like
Yeah.
a happy family.
Yeah.
And we were, as long as everybody else was around, because when you all were
Yeah.
around, then we couldn't cut up and be who we really were, which were people that were at each other's throats
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, the image that y'all portrayed was something that I emulated and wanted to live up to. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I seen that as an image of standard of what I wanted to have, and that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to strive to get. You know, it's like, man, I want to be like them. You know what I'm saying? To be in a relationship like them. They so loving and so kind. They got so much, love around their
Yeah.
household and everything like that. And it was just wonderful to be around that, not knowing that y'all would on the back behind
On
closed
the back
doors
end,
going
we
at
was
each other,
on the back end, we was
but
moving
y'all
furniture.
still together.
I'm gonna tell y'all what's funny, right? So during there was a time where I'm not saying I didn't have that kind of influence because Faith, like when you came in, I was on my way out, right? I left
Mhm.
I left Germany like in May of '92, and
But
I
I,
had
but
been there too
I
long.
vividly remember you, and I vividly remember I was like, we need to get on the bandwagon seriously because this man and his children are going to change. I'd never met anyone who was, I called it radical as you. Like you spoke your mind and you said, yeah, this is
Until
what we
Gaddy
need to
came,
do.
until Gaddy got there.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's
Gaddy,
from what I understand. Yeah,
yeah,
Gaddy
Yeah,
was the next me,
yeah,
yeah,
right?
Gaddy was
Gaddy
the
took
next
your
you.
place.
So
I
meeting
would
you,
say,
I wanted to pick your brain because I was like, why is this dude always so
yeah,
intense? Why is he like, and
right.
people flock to you. So I wanted to get to know what was at the core of that, like, what was that all about?
Yeah,
Yeah, I do too. I'm still trying to figure that out. When I, but what I was gonna say though, as opposed to like the good the dynamics that you and Michael set for the peers around you, I got to see kind of the opposite of that, right? So I remember going to couples homes and all day at work, this woman don't never speak, right? But she get two slit small liquor bulls in her and throw on some Millie Jackson. And then it was like the role reversal. Now her husband is timid. She choking this cat up against the doorway, gonna punch him in the face, then she flirting with all the dudes. And I'm just like, whoa, I can't come to no more of y'all barbecues, right? So
they
I will
wilding.
say, yeah, I will. And see, they were like a functioning dysfunctional, couple, right? As long as she had slits, she was supervised. She was Millie Jackson
Right.
Yeah.
slash Wonder Woman, right? Slash Amazon girl, right? Jungle Jane. But at work, I'm telling you, this woman rarely taught. That's when I was TDY and Geeson, right? So when I got back to Frankfurt, it was cool coming back to people who were newer, right? Because some of the OGs that were there when I started, they were gone. They were all gone.
Yeah.
And I know that helped us out a lot too. It is the camaraderie that happened because like B and Marifa were saying, being that we were in the barracks, we were single, you kind of left to your own vices sometimes, you
Yeah.
know,
We had
and
a whole
we
lot of those.
needed that. Yes, we needed that. We
You ain't
didn't
lying.
need to just we didn't. I might have been the cause of some of them.
Come on.
I'm gonna show you
Buddy,
where to go. Let's go down to Hot Vodka real quick, right? Let's go down to
buddy.
Hot Vodka Square. And then, baby, see that Turkish dude over there? Yeah, you just give him 20 marks. You get a piece about this big, right? Yes, that
I
was
got
me.
a whole nother show about that, bro.
Kid knew where to get everything, man. I knew where to fence your cigarettes. I knew where to
Yeah.
fence your underwear. You know what I'm saying? You go to Queens across the street, little spelunka, right? Get some pommes frites, curry fries.
Oh
Yeah, bring
man.
them, bring us some Fruit of the Loom or some Levi's 501s and see what it really go down, right?
That was the stuff
Right.
for the 501s. I remember those. That
Oh
was
yeah,
stuff,
good man. I
man.
knew I had fences. Like I knew where to get your stuff going, and
Yeah.
yeah. But that's what happens when I just that's a whole nother show. Though. We ain't gonna talk about that. It's not self-incriminating. We passed the statute of limitations.
Right.
I got my
Exactly.
honorable discharge. Right.
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 I was
But
trying
Me
not to
I
get
too.
an honorable. I was
oftentimes
trying to get
wondered
kicked out.
where you went and so you were a good trauma in my life because here was someone who didn't necessarily like to me, you played just enough inside of the rules that you really weren't called out a lot, but everything you did was different. I was just
they left Kid alone.
He's gonna conform. He's not gonna do it. He just gonna stay just enough. Like you told the line, man, and people would be upset. They'd be like, oh, kick. And I was like, well, what is it with this kick guy? Like that kind of thing. I really wanted to get to know, like, okay, what's the deal? What's his, like, I wanted to get inside of your brain.
Hey,
what ended up happening was I picked Gaddy's brain.
Yeah, that's the man. See, one left and somebody like me came that was instrumental in the same way that I may have been. You know what I mean?
Kid had the whole barracks 5%ers.
Yeah. Hey, don't get me started on Chi lessons, Tuesday night lessons at Chi.
Hey, the whole barracks, all of us was walking around. Listen, the entire barracks was walking around because of this dude and Jack.
Yeah.
Wow.
All quoting 5% of stuff like, yo, what? I'm like, who am I tuned into?
That started with Batten. That's what started with Batten. Batten came with that, you know, and then he got with Cinder. I'm like, what happened, man? I thought she was the devil, you know.
Right.
He's like, hey, never mind that.
I will say this at the risk of
that's my devil's food cake, man. Devil food cake. You know, it's different, man. That's my little
I will say this.
Snow cap.
I will say this at the risk of Batten later joining these podcasts. He wasn't even supposed to be in the barracks, okay? But
you're right.
He had to be. He had to be. No, there was a reason.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about.
But we gotta, like I'm saying, we're gonna have to do a series.
I know.
This
be the 378 confessional, right?
Only if you do impersonations, because your impersonations, all of your impersonations have me on the floor. I'm still. This goes to prove to your point earlier that all old people ain't always wise, because I'm telling you, you can reduce me to a 5-year-old with them impersonations. I'll be over here hollering.
Hey, I'd have retired.
Best impersonations. But I'm just saying, like, okay, so happy traumas. That probably was very traumatic for Batten. Probably very traumatic for him. But it was Comedy Central for
us.
Everybody. Well, you know no better.
Man.
I ain't gonna lie, I was ignorant as hell. And so I knew me. And I didn't care. So it was like whatever. It is what it is. Now let's go to the shopette. Get the dice. Let's get it. Let's get the shopping cart, come back, and do what we do.
Right.
Oh man, boy.
You know
take me back, baby. Take me back. Oh,
hey,
man.
but the reality is that experience helped me a lot.
Yes.
It helped me to trust a circle of people that I knew nothing about. But I had to learn them. So I got to a point where I could start to decipher snakes. But I could also decipher the ones that really had my heart, that really love B for B. So, you know, that experience, that 378th experience, I tell everybody that I ever talked to, that one experience was life-changing for me. You know, it was very life-changing for me. It taught me about the 5%ers. I got to learn about different cultures. I learned about different people in a close-up barracks thing. We can't avoid each other. So we talking, waking up to loud music in the morning, Black Sheep and
Tribe
Quest,
Tribe,
Public Enemy. Who's playing that Public Enemy? Somebody playing Public Enemy.
I don't even know why I got it, but I got a picture of you in a bathroom. Like, I don't even know how I got it.
Me, Kid, and Jack.
That's the classic. That's the classic right there. That's the
like every
classic.
once in a while it'll pop up in my memories, and I'm like, why do I have to picture a kid in the bathroom?
The three wise men, I call it. The three wise men.
I got older, like, why was we walking around the beds in bathrobes?
That was a norm. That was the norm.
Bathrobes and beanies. We had a
beanies.
little beanie on too.
And I had my baseball cap broke to the left.
Yeah.
Look, that was the norm, man. That was the uniform. Once you took that uniform off, you get into your robe and get comfortable. You know what I'm saying? That was the uniform.
I imagine that you
we
all
was at home.
That probably was very traumatic for some other people in the barracks.
I don't think so.
They probably was like, oh my gosh, here they are again. Like, why are they doing that? Why won't they stop?
First of all, let's be clear. That third floor ran that 6-story barracks.
You ain't lying. Third floor,
baby. It was all about the third floor.
Everything was about the third floor. Everybody wanted to come down to the third floor. Everything that we did, they wanted to come up to the third floor. They wanted to get with the third floor personnel. We was just that entity.
We was the it. We had everything. We had all the style. We had the charisma. We had the everything, man. It was just like
Faith, we had a barber shop, right? We had the barber shop. Like on some real. Me and Jackie used to cut hair on Saturday mornings. It'd be kids that went to Frankfurt High School, be all in the barracks, you know. Who let these kids in? Are they here to get their hair cut? Take a seat.
See, I imagine so it was like that. Was traumatic for their parents. You know, no, really.
I cannot remember. No. There was a sister because she was in 378 and she had 2 daughters and a son. No, two sons and a daughter, right? And she had I cannot remember this girl's name. She used to drive a blue Volvo station wagon. That chick would drop her kids and the Volvo off and be like, yeah, just take them. Right. And she's going about a bit. And we all at the swim. Yeah, we'd be all at the swim bog in mom's car. You know, and I'm asking them, when your mama coming to get her car? You know what I'm saying? She gave me a whole line to get the kids up. Yeah. Drop them off with kid, you know, and it just saying it sounds weird, but like I guess because you know we were family like that. Like people knew I can trust you. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna do nothing. You're not gonna touch my kids. You know what I'm saying? And her kids were young adults. They were in high school. You know, they weren't babies, but I cannot remember that sister name. But she used to drop her kids and the car off, jump her ass on the train and go back wherever she was going, right? But she'd leave her kids, she'd leave money with them, you know, and where you going this week? Okay, my kids gonna come by, you taking them swimming, we go to the swim bog. And that's because, you know, like when I got there, the people that were there before me said, hey, don't be, you know, we're from that generation that don't be the ugly American, right? So when you get out here, you know, you want to display and carry yourself in a way that people find that respectable, right? And so I was shown stuff on the economy. I think I had done most of the clubs in Frankfurt, Hanau, and other places before I even went to the PC or the Topper Club, right? Wow. That was like doing the Chitlin circuit for me. Oh man, I got to go to a club with Americans. I don't know about this, man. I don't know.
So I hear you saying, "Don't be the ugly American," which makes me think of Brian's songs earlier that triggered him. Any songs that trigger you, Kit?
Mine was, and I thought about it earlier too. Don't worry, be happy. That we woke up to that song every morning in AIT, right? So every time I hear that song, I'm like, oh, you know, Bobby McFerrin, like, God damn, you know. So I actually didn't like Bobby McFerrin as an artist because I heard that song every day, and it just it was. I was grateful for my time at AIT, but I think it was just a pain of having to wake up in the morning to the same song, and it just wore on me, you know. So mine was that. And then everything else, like there were things, basic training. I was Guns N' Roses, so Welcome to the Jungle, like that brings a certain nostalgia around, right? Of course, any Keith Sweat, I'll be sure that dropped 87, 88-ish, you know. So that's what's being played while I'm in basic training, right? But once I got out of training and I was, you know, at my permanent duty station, I got to Frankfurt. That was it. You know, I was Afro punk. I'm a rock star by night, and trust me, I might have left the Funkadelic at 6 a.m., but I'll be in formation. I'll be on time. I didn't sleep until I got off from work that day, right? But
That's a whole nother story.
tell me about it, B. Tell me, B. Tell me. People don't understand, man.
They really don't.
It was
So,
wonderful,
so
though. It
you
was
were
wonderful.
somewhere else before you came to Formation?
Man,
I might have been in the club. I might have been down at K-Town for a little while. You know,
Yeah.
we go to Kaiser sliding, you know, run all through the houses, then stop and
Look,
have a breakfast beer, and then, you know, oh,
and
shoot,
other
it was
barracks.
Formation. Yeah,
I never
all
forget,
over the
man.
place.
I never forget that day when Crawford came to the PT late. He jumped out the cab late. And we was in formation
Remember that?
we was in the middle of doing our push-ups, and he pulled up. I was like, he came out like Superman. Like, what the heck going on? We're gonna have to get him on the show to tell that story, man.
That's
Heck
who we
yeah.
need to get on the show.
Yeah,
So,
where was
Sean,
he at? I never knew where he was at. I never found out. Where did you come from? I mean, this is a PT test. He was
Right.
And ran it 11 minutes flat.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Man, that was one of the most incredible days. I never forget that day.
How do you max a PT test?
Coming out there, you are hungover, late,
No.
all type of stuff.
No warm up,
No
nothing.
warm up, nothing. Just came in. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups.
But y'all was like that. Y'all was like that.
Yeah.
I never saw anything like it before.
Oh my God.
Just out
Look, I remember
straight out of the bed and like, okay, what we doing?
let's go.
Yeah.
I remember me and Jack walking around the track, you know, the first 2 laps on the PT test, me and this fool smoking, right?
Yeah.
We smoking. Oh yeah, I'm training my lungs. This is combat training for my lungs, right?
No.
That's walking
Hey.
around smoking first 2 laps. Smoke.
No,
Got a
no.
cigarette.
Wasn't
my
nothing
God.
as funny as getting in formation for a run, and we start off the run and make a U-turn back to the barracks.
Oh yeah. Everybody dropped out. As soon as you pass that corner by that park, that little outdoor park right there, they go.
Hey,
You go see them again.
Hey, me, Jack, and Kid straight to the bathroom. Smoke.
Gone.
Yeah.
Look, you had the formation show back up. You start out with 95, you end up with 25 when you come back.
Right. What happened to everybody?
What happened?
So how about
my
you,
God.
Love? Any songs that do anything, any
Look, man, my thing, man, when I first got that, Kit used to wake me up every morning with Tribe Called Quest bugging out. You know what I'm saying? Because I was next door neighbors with Kit. Like, literally, my room was next to Kit. And my wall to my bed was facing the wall where his speaker was in his room. So 5:30 in the morning, all I hear is boom, 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 boom. And I said, let's go, baby. I used to get up, hyped up, baby. I said, let's go. That Tribe is on. That was my wake up. You know what I'm saying?
No, that was between Kit and Nip.
Yeah, oh man. Nip was my roommate for a minute.
Yeah.
Nip was my roommate for a minute. So I already know. He coming on blast, man. You know what I'm saying? First thing in the morning. You did first thing in the morning. But traumatically, if you're thinking about traumatically, songs that I couldn't get with, like was It's So Hard to Say Goodbye.
Yeah.
By Boyz II Men, because they sang that song like every single time somebody went through a graduation or something like that. And I'm like, man, I couldn't stand that song because it felt like the end. You know what I'm saying? It was like, man,
it's a funeral song.
It's a funeral type of song. So it felt like that.
So imagine
from Cooley High, from the end of Cooley High, before Boyz II Men, right?
Imagine having to go throughout Germany singing that song.
Man,
I know. Poor B. Poor B.
Hated singing. And when we everywhere we went and we sang that song, I hated that song.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear those types of songs that you all would sing, I can remember just a gang of us going. Like we would jump in the car. It would be somebody's station wagon. It'd be 22 people in there. We're going to see Pete. We're going to see Pete go sing. If you could have shot the Stardom just on support, I'm telling you,
man.
You would be selling out.
Yeah. Be on stage right now.
We didn't have social media back then, man.
Adele who? Janet Jackson who?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
we were hard in supporting you. So when I hear those songs, but traumatically, Casanova. I'm a
Casanova.
chosen.
Yeah,
Casanova.
I remember that song.
Man, one of my
Levert.
best friends in Germany
Oh,
played on Black Ice
Casanova.
and died, and we used to call him Casanova. This was at my
Oh,
Oh,
this
real?
was before I got to 378, and we called him Casanova because
Yeah.
that was
Oh,
his
man.
entry song. And Black Ice
Yeah.
got him, and he died. And I very rarely listen to that song now. Whenever I hear the first opening beats, my mind always goes to him. Always goes to that morning that we got the news that he died.
Man.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's always something that's going to be a trigger, which I think when
Yeah,
you talk
man.
about going from child trauma to, your experiences and now coming into wisdom, coming into that light, there's always going to be something that triggers you. But now with wisdom, knowledge, wisdom, truth, knowledge, understanding,
Yeah.
you know that how to handle that trigger.
Yeah.
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 And that is a big key when you're talking about trauma, learning how to handle the trigger points, because if you don't know how to handle the trigger points, again, you're repeating the cycle.
Yeah.
You're going to do something to react, to where, to what you hear. You could hear that song Casanova and just bust out and just, you know what I'm saying? If you
Right,
didn't
yeah.
know how to handle
Yeah.
and understand that trigger. So I think that's important, man, to know your triggers.
Yeah.
Right.
Damn,
And you're
they
gonna
need-
repeat the same thing over and over. That emotion,
Yeah,
that
that's
same
what I was
emotion
gonna
that you
say.
had back
Yeah.
then, you're gonna repeat that same emotion. And it's gonna be like a revisiting of that same thing, and you're gonna react the exact same way.
See,
You know
we
what I'm
talked
saying?
about that. We talked about this a couple of episodes ago when we were going over like the difference between evocation and invocation. Like evoking is something usually like a song that brings about a good feeling, but then that evocation could be something that brings about a negative feeling too, based on your association with that, right? For me as a kid, it was me and Mrs. Jones, right?
Mm. We
What my
got to
mama
think.
last name?
Wow.
We
Right.
got a thing going
Right.
on,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, damn, this song about adultery. My mama, every time the song came on, she changed the radio station. Oh, I don't like that song. So then,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, let me listen to it. Then when I listen, I'm like, oh, I see why she don't like it. Because, and then,
But you
as I
you
come
loved it
into
because it
age,
was your last name.
no,
Right.
no, no. As I came into age, though, and then people start singing to, oh, you a Jones, me and Mrs. Jones. And I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I will point it out to them. Have you ever paid attention to the lyrics? And they're like, oh, yeah, I see why I really shouldn't say this to every woman named Mrs. Jones, right? Yeah, stop singing it, right? But there's something like really important too. I'll try to make it real quick. There's three like parts of society that we live in that make this world go round, right? We have trauma, symbolism, and repetition, right? And Sean, you just said it. My reefer, you just said it, bro.
Yeah.
Repetition. This stuff is going to happen again, right? But we have trauma, which is the injection of something in our lives that is traumatic. That it's usually done to take us to the next level, right?
Mhm.
And then there's symbolism. The symbolism is the music, where it happened. Maybe there was a foul smell. Now, every time you smell paint remover, you're reminded of this trauma, right? And then there's the repetition, knowing that this is going to constantly happen over and over, right? So in some facets, you can I always use music because, that's something that I've always paid attention to, right? Marvin Gaye said there's three certainties in life, right? Taxes, death, and trouble, right? It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's trauma, symbolism, and reputation, right?
Repetition, yeah.
There's still like three things going together, and it's going to constantly happen. So, it's about how we shape our minds to be able to deal with that. And then, like everyone has contributed to, we got to go back and deal with them childhood traumas. First, forgive the person, and then forgive yourself for holding on to the feelings that you haven't grown beyond, because that's when it becomes a problem. Everyone has experienced trauma. Some people have been able to move beyond that and go, yeah, every time this happens, I'm not gonna fall out and make myself minuscule and run away and hide. I'm really gonna have to deal with this, right? And then we have people who don't know how to deal with it, and it becomes baggage. So it carries itself into every aspect of any kind of relationship they could possibly have. So I just wanted to share that.
No,
Yeah,
but
man, that's very
you're
powerful.
you're
And
right. You have to address it. You have to address it.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
forgive that other person. If you know, you have to forgive that other person, and you have to forgive yourself. If
Yeah.
you
It's the
don't, if you
self-forgiveness.
don't,
It's that part.
you won't grow. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's some people can't get over that. And so every time something happens, I mean, we know for some people it's damn near crippling. Like a situation what happened has nothing to do with anyone around them, but because of their alignment, because of their association with something, Faith, you spoke on it when we first started. It could be especially with black people. It could be you turning up your lips or you sucking your teeth
Right.
can put someone else at discomfort because they associate that with trauma. They associate that to something negative, right? But depending on what black person you talking to, sucking teeth might be part of their culture.
yeah,
Right.
You see what I'm saying? West Indians use it a lot. It
Yeah.
was beaten out of us here in North America. Everybody else sucked their teeth, right? Everywhere else is kind of looked at as like, okay, that
Right.
is how you react without saying it. Just
yeah,
you suck them teeth, right? So
Yeah.
got a lot.
Other cultures is a form of disrespect. You
Yeah,
know, that type of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's disrespectful for them. Yeah, yeah. But it
But
was
as
one that was allowable, right? Here it was like, you don't talk back, you don't suck your teeth, you don't roll your eyes, right?
right.
You just be seen and not heard. A lot of people grew up like that, right? Terrible.
Oh
That's
yeah.
slave terminology, right? You to be seen and not heard. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do I have to wear white gloves and put up my finger, mama, when I want to walk to the
Right.
next room too? You know what I'm saying?
Well, man, it's been a great discussion, man. This
As
is
Absolutely.
one that
always.
needs to continue, man. It's always, a blessing to be able to come together, man, for us to be able to share this wisdom and knowledge with the youth. And I know it's a lot of things that we have that we need to continue to share. That's why we got Still Building Podcast to be able to give back this knowledge and wisdom to the youth, the next generation. So when we transition on, it could still be here and you can always come back and press play and listen and hear this wisdom. And hopefully it'll help somebody along their journey. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're here for. We're here to do. You know what I'm saying? And before we close out, man, I want to go ahead and do a round robin of the table, man. We had a couple of people that came on. Let me see. Black and More just shout out Black and More. She came in and said the trauma happened 10 years old, usually where they are stuck in the mind. Yep. Yeah.
Hmm.
That happens a lot, man. If they not
Yep.
really growing up. Appreciate that, Black and More, you know what I'm saying, for showing us showing some love. And then we had another panelist came in from another question from the audience. Curtis came through and he said, a lot of his methods he used to discipline his kids was using responsibilities. They loved it
Yeah.
as kids as they got older, and that was instilled in them. We was talking earlier about the blueprint and
yeah,
instructions,
Right.
how we using these methods in order to discipline our kids and to help them overcome the traumas and stuff like that. My mother gave us whoopings. It's like that method, that style maybe was not the best style or something like that, a method, but I guess it worked for us because here I am right now. You know what I'm saying? That
Hey,
type
can
of
I
thing.
say this? Can
Go
I
ahead,
can I
go
get
ahead.
this in? Because I like what the brother wrote, and part of like parenting is realizing that these are just little people, right?
Yeah,
And that our jobs as parents is helping these little people become responsible little people and rearing them into being responsible big people.
right,
And at certain stages in our lives, our position as parents change too. We don't really become mommy. We start out as mommy and daddy, but then we kind of become more advisors. So like Faith, when she said, here she is thinking she's grown, but her mama said, I want to see you within 24 hours. She got home.
right.
See, this nigga here would have been like, you might see me 24 months from now, but I don't know you, mama. Mama.
Right.
I know you would like this, right? But right? My communication, and again, remember we have societal biases as well, right? So some
Yeah,
things, part of me wanted to say, oh, that's because you were a girl. You know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't be that way. But some things we could say, hey, in certain aspects, parents, we shelter our daughters or we try to shield them from certain things, right? That our boys can be exposed to, right?
Right.
And a lot of that, again, it's just that fear. Like when, we might have been raised in the city, but trust me, as city folk, I think our biggest fear was, some sling blade situation happening, right? Oh, they go down to the country, they're gonna get raped, they're gonna get lynched, it's gonna happen to them, right?
Yeah.
So trust me, there was traumas that we all were exposed to just on varying degrees. But remember, it was also done based on the beautiful Black person that you are, right? Because ultimately, it's all just for experience and to hopefully get a person to grow or to move beyond the trauma. And that's the important thing, is that we recognize the traumas, that we grow beyond it, and that we help foster other humans with moving beyond their trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What does that say up there?
you're going to read that, Sean, what Black Amore just put up, but to your point, Kit, just know that if you address it, you can move past the trauma.
Yes, yeah, you got to acknowledge it.
You
got to acknowledge it. That's right. That's right.
Don't put a band-aid on it. Address.
Yes, yeah. I want to say this too.
Take it off.
Take the mask off.
For a lot of people, they wonder why, and again, that mama drama, you got people that say, but why? But why did my mama do this? But why? Look, don't worry about why that person did what they did, right?
But
you know it was done, right?
For our next one, and I know we got to go. And I want to address this on the next one. Some people are just comfortable in discourse.
Yes.
They're comfortable. That is home for them because they don't know any other way than to be in mess, be in some type of bullshit. That's just what they know.
That's how they cope.
Yeah.
It's like almost being a functioning alcoholic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some people want to live. They love discord and they don't want to be healed. And it reminds me of a cheesy joke. Sean, I'm telling you up front that it's cheesy. On the Still Building podcast, I'm going to tell a cheesy joke. But growing up, we always heard this: a white man, a black man, a Chinese man, a bar, whatever. And so the joke goes that they go into this bar and they sit next to Jesus and he heals these people. But when he gets to the black man says, "Oh, don't heal me. I get Social Security, I get disability, and I want my disability, so don't heal me." Some people want to stay in that. They don't want to be healed. They want the wound. They enjoy the hurt that the wound provides. They're addicted to it. That wound gives them attention. They're addicted to the attention. They don't want healing. They want to hurt. They don't want to grow. They want to be stuck.
And you have to respect them where they are and leave them where they are.
And that's a shame, man, because people, you come to this earth to experience things, right? And I get it. And there's levels to it. And I mentioned this in other shows, man. Every one of us have gone through our own thing, but we have to go through our own personal experience. Whatever you came to this earth to do, you chose that. You know what I'm saying? So if you stuck in that particular spot, that's where you're going to be until you pass on the transition, because that's what you chose to do. Now, some of us are choosing to elevate and grow and to mature. That's what we doing, on this Still Building podcast. We've all come from those traumatic episodes as young adults, children and stuff, and we've grown. We've gone through those experiences and learned from them and changed. But that's what we chose to do. You see what I'm saying? We decided that I'm not going to live that life anymore. Right. I'm going to change and do something different and do it better, because that's what I want to do. But like you said, certain people are just meant to be here. And you got to understand that. That used to frustrate me to no end. I'm like, why would you want to be that?
It can be very frustrating. And deciding to grow and change doesn't diminish the trauma or diminish the hurt from the trauma. The trauma is real. The trauma sucks. The trauma hurts. We get it. But all we're saying is you don't have to stay there. And it is not an overnight process.
Nope.
It is not an overnight process.
Not at all.
It is not an overnight process.
Yeah, it happens for years.
But if you trust, I've heard you say this, love. if you trust the process or you stick in that process, stay the course, it will work itself out in the end. It will.
I say
Yeah,
that's
It-
yeah.
right.
but you
Oh,
gotta want it.
But you have
gotta
to
want it.
want it.
You
You
have to
have to
want it.
want it. That's right.
And there's work that comes with that. And a lot of people don't want to do the work. It's
Yeah.
like everybody wants to get $1 million, but nobody wants to work to get that $1 million.
That's
You
right.
know what? A
I
lot of
don't want
people
to
need
work
to
to get the
see.
million, Brian. I want you to get the million and just say, Faith, here's 100,000.
Here's a
Okay.
100,000. But see,
Give me a
like what
Z.
B was saying, you
Yeah.
guys know, like when growing up, we had some good, again, it be in the music, man. Like think about growing up and watching Fame, right? Before the show even starts, you see Debbie Allen with the stick, and she's like, Fame, it begins here, but it ain't easy, and you gonna have to work for it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it was in the music, right? Baby,
Yeah.
look at me, right?
That's right.
There was like, yeah, see, you know what I'm talking about. You
Yeah,
ain't seen
yeah.
the
You ain't
best
seen the
of
rest of
me
me yet.
yet. Yeah, take some time and I'll make you forget the rest. I can keep going,
I
but
can't
what I'm
believe that you
saying is
think
like
Cliff
when
Jones is sitting
growing
here
up.
saying things.
No, what I'm
Hey,
saying
boy.
is like growing up, we had Schoolhouse Rock, right? I'm
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
Bill, and so it's like for us, and I think in a lot of, I'm gonna say this with a surety. Gen X to me was we so dope because we had that, like we had the computers started when we were kids, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we get asked by our children and our grandbabies, what kind of iPhone did you have when you were a kid? A rotary one? I don't know. Shit, the iPhone. There was no iPhone. It was
I had a
hardwired to the
Motorola
wall, right?
pager.
Right. That was
The
shoot. I was
Motorola
an adult
pager.
when pages started, but I'm just saying that to say, like, even for the next generation, there were things that happened in cartoons and
Yes.
in theme songs to stuff that were like clues to kind of draw back upon when you're looking for positive reinforcement, right? When you're looking for something to help boost you. So you could turn on a radio and hear, As by Stevie Wonder and just be inspired for the rest of your day. So I'm saying that to get to, because I know we got to go, but get to, and I thank you, sister, for bringing it up. Find them songs, not the ones that pissed you off, but the ones that are like motivational songs. It might be some DMX, to get you a little started to go to the gym. And we do that, right? We go to the gym. You want to
Mhm.
hear workout songs, right? But then what do you listen to when you want to get deep with yourself? What do you listen to when you want to have reflective time? What
Erica
kind of,
Badu.
I mean, hey,
But
sometimes it could just be the
but his point,
instrumental.
Yeah.
we do have to go. But it's right. I can remember as a Christian marrying Michael, and he was like, "Well, what music like what music we gonna make love to?" I said, "Don't worry, it won't be no Shirley Caesar. I don't want to hear Shirley Caesar.
Hey man.
Turn on some Luther Vandross. I'm trying to make love to you.
Hey
Don't
man.
nobody want to hear no Shirley Caesar." So I mean, music, man. Like at times, I'm trying to tell you.
Oh my God.
But okay,
No
I got you.
Yeah.
pain, no
I got a story
pain,
about that next time because
no
I'm like,
gain.
nigga, I'm in church, but I ain't that dude.
Listen,
I ain't that cat.
listen.
Hey,
You
Hey,
you better throw in that freak me, baby. That
yeah,
you
you
feel me?
better water the plant
Here's
because
some Jodeci on, man.
Hey,
some
hey,
Jodeci, some Keith
hey,
Sweat,
throw
some
that
Keith
H
Sweat,
Town, that
some
That
silk.
Keith
Gerald
Sweat.
Levert. I mean, come on, let's do something. Cause you
You know
gonna
what I'm saying?
put on Shirley Caesar, you gonna kill my whole vibe.
every time I close
That's
Oh yeah.
right.
my eyes.
The whole
Hey,
vibe.
Man.
you ain't gonna be.
Hey,
Hey,
both my
we ain't
places
about to
been
get it
singing
in.
off Jodeci now.
We ain't about to get it in to hold my mule. You feel me?
Right.
Nigga,
I don't want to hear nothing about no greens, beans, tomatoes, yams, things. I don't want to hear
Yeah.
that. Okay. I like to
oh
hear
fam,
about
that
things
ain't what
Oh
we
man.
on.
Oh man.
You
Boy, y'all clowning. Y'all
know.
clowning. Oh
Sean,
my
you
God.
gonna have to close this
Hey
out.
man.
Y'all
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
I love
man.
you
Listen, man.
all. I
Love
love
you
you. I love
guys
you. I
too,
love you.
man.
Love
Hey
y'all,
man,
man.
Love
love
you,
y'all,
man.
man.
Love you.
Love y'all. You know, really appreciate the panel, man. We had an amazing show. I want to thank all of our panelists, man. Faith
Yeah.
P, you know, Kent Jones, and my man B Will is here, baby. That's what
Yeah,
I'm talking about. B Will is here,
Yes.
man. And I'm your man,
Yes.
Marifa. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? We want to shout out all our people that participated. Black Amore, go check her out, man. Black Amore, she has some candles on Facebook. Black Amore, you go check her out, man. She sells candles, man. She make amazing candles. Go and check
Word.
out, man, purchase some candles from Black Amore. Her website, man, and go and check that out. For real, though. I hope she can drop that link, you know what I'm saying, description and stuff like that. But want to thank everybody. Curtis, man, appreciate the questions and stuff like that and all that stuff like that. But before you know what I'm saying, that we get out of here, we're going to be back in another 2 weeks. Y'all, what y'all think? 2 weeks from Still
Yeah.
Good podcast?
Yeah.
We'll be
Yeah.
black with another great topic. We're going to get that together, get it popping. Remember, Saturdays at 1 p.m. Central Time. You know what I'm saying? We got the East Coast, West Coast, and Central covered. So we got everybody that's identified here. Appreciate the love, you know what I'm saying? Everybody for showing
Yeah.
out. But like I want to say and close out, man, like I say, we here to give y'all some knowledge and information and wisdom to the next generation. So the more you know, the more you'll grow and the better off we all shall be. So until next time, you know what I'm saying? I'll
Yes,
say
sire.
love
Yes,
and
sire.
light. Peace.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Salute.
Bless
Word.
Let's drop
Deuces.
it.